Muted. I muted. Okay, just wanted to verify that a StreamYard looks a little different to me. I think they've made some upgrades or done some changes.
What have you done, StreamYard?
So I just wanted to verify that we can see and hear each other well enough before we officially get started here. Okay, so I think all is good. Do you have the Google Doc for this pilot pod? Are we good
I
to go?
do. I
Okay,
do.
perfect. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started. We've got a little bit of news, but then we're going to go straight into pilot pod review of Sirens on Netflix starring Milly Alcock. So that'll be really exciting. So we'll officially get started here in a second.
McGurk! I love
Not
typing.
mess with my Google Docs, Meeksy.
Supergirl Radio is going live every night of the week. How do you like it? Is becoming a human burrito a plus or a minus? I don't know. It does seem snug.
I mean, they say you are what you eat.
Kira. I love that.
So I do a podcast called Supergirl Radio, and one of our segments is Lena Luthor, Boardroom or Ballroom, because
She looks like a boss in this coat.
Nasty Luthor like a different Luthor? It's not just Lena being mean?
No.
Helen Slater here. So fun to know that you're hosting a podcast called Supergirl Radio.
Welcome to Supergirl Radio, your source for all things related to the character of Kara Zor-El. My name is Rebecca Johnson.
I'm working Glennon.
And for this episode of the podcast, we are live and wired to do a pilot pod review about the first episode of Milly Alcock's new Netflix series, Sirens. We are joining the first episode in this series, which I think is 6 episodes. Is that correct?
I think it's either 6 or, hold on, let me check. It might actually be 5.
Oh,
which is a strange number of episodes,
is it
honestly.
even shorter? I assumed it was 6, but I think you might be correct. You are correct. IMDb says it's 5 episodes. So we are joining it right at the beginning here. I don't know. I guess we should clarify. Morgan, did you watch all 5 episodes?
I did not. I had originally planned to slam through them. And then when we decided to just do the pilot, I was like, okay, I don't have to try to watch 5 episodes in a weekend. I think I'm going to choose to not do that.
Okay, I did watch the first episode titled Exile, and I watched a little bit about the second episode, so I didn't finish it quite fully, but that it works out for a pilot pod because we're really just going to be talking about the first episode.
We're coming in with nothing else.
But we are watching this because Milly Alcock is in it. She is going to be a Supergirl in 2026. So we're getting a taste of what she can bring to another role. We've talked about her role in House of the Dragon, did a pilot pod for House of the Dragon. So we're getting another little tease of Milly Alcock's acting ability as we go into her take on Supergirl. But before we get into that discussion, we need to get to
the news.
Where am I in the doc? Okay. Supergirl's Odette Annabelle will be joining Superman Celebration as one of this year's guests. Fans will recognize her as Samantha Arias, and Rain from the CW series Superman Celebration is being held in Metropolis, Illinois on June 13th through June 15th.
Yeah, they initially had announced it like a week and a half ago or something, and then I think they deleted the post. So I was like, "Oh, did I share bad information?" But recently, on Saturday, May 31st, I noticed they shared it again to the Metropolis Superman Celebration Facebook page. So I think
it's official again.
I think Odette is official for the second time. So if you are in the Metropolis area for Superman Celebration June 13th through the 15th, Odette will be available for autographs, pictures, probably a panel or something of that nature. I don't know what the schedule is as of yet. So just be checking Superman Celebration's website for that information if you're able to go. That is all the news that we have to kind of keep everybody up to date on what's happening at Superman Celebration. So I guess we should just get right into the discussion that we have for this week's episode of Supergirl Radio. So we are going to be talking about the Netflix series Sirens in the first episode to that, which I believe is called Exile. And the description from Netflix reads, quote, worried about her sister's too close relationship with her billionaire boss, a scrappy every woman seeks answers at a lavish seaside estate, unquote. So I like that description of Devin.
Scrappy
calling
every
her
woman.
every woman. Morgan, I guess since this is the pilot pod is a format that we have stolen. I guess I should say I have stolen from the Legendary Ladies podcast.
We borrowed it.
It's a great way to review a first episode of a series. And since we have only really, I've watched 1.5 episodes, and I think you may have gotten further than me.
I did not. I only watched the pilot. I was planning on trying to like slam through, because initially when we were talking about this, we were like, do we try to watch them all? But we decided to do this on like Friday night, and I was like, could I? And so I watched the pilot, and then we were talking a little bit, and we were like, what if we just did a pilot pod? And I was like, okay. Instead, I'm just going to leave myself at the pilot so I don't get confused, because I find that these shows that they drop like the whole season, and then you watch it over like a long weekend, and then you're trying to remember what happened in an individual episode, and it's like it all kind of blends together, it all blurs together. I'm a big weekly drop fan, so because otherwise I'm going to watch it all in 48 hours and then not remember it a week later. So I was like, okay, let me stop at the pilot so that I know what exactly was in the pilot. But I will come out saying that I do plan to finish this. I do want to watch the rest of it because I think that the pilot does set up, you're just kind of like, what is going on? Everything here is really weird and creepy. I think Devin says it in the episode, everybody is dressed like an Easter egg. And I want to know why. So I was like, I'm in now. I'm in. I watched the pilot. Sometimes we would do these for the Legendary Ladies podcast, and we'd watch the pilot. And one of the questions we always ask are do you plan to keep watching? And with a lot of these, my answer is no. But this one, my answer is yes. This one I do plan to keep watching. It also helps that it's only 5 episodes, so I only got 4 more to go.
Yeah. That was a question that I was going to ask you is would you consider continuing the series? And I think my answer to that would also be yes. There's enough weirdness about this show that I think even though I got a little further than you, only because I rewatched the episode Exile a second time just for rewatch, review purposes. And then by the time I got through it the second time, I was like, let me just kind of see where this goes. I just want to see what happens. And so I did get a little into it, and I think you'll enjoy the second episode because there's a little mention. I don't know if I should tease it or spoil it for you.
Definitely do. Yeah.
Well, there's a Nexium mention in the second episode. So I'll just tease that out for you.
As I was watching the first one, and they get to the scene where they're all in. They're having like the meeting, and they're all chanting, and Julianne Moore's character has like a little staff. I was like, hey, or whatever. And I was just like, this feels like this actually was kind of made for Rebecca and I, as we are both cult aficionados. I was like, oh, at first I just suggested it because of Milly, but I forgot that there was a cult aspect. Hitting all vectors of our interests.
Yeah, I guess since we're here, we can talk about the cult aspect. It is bird related, so I also thought
cult.
that might be up your alley as well. What's the game you play, Wingspan?
That's true. I do love birds, and we talk a lot about, like, we watch these cult documentaries, and we do like some reviews for our Patreon, our lovely Patreon subscribers who have gone down many a cult related rabbit hole with us. And I talk often about, like, sometimes I'll watch these and I'll go, that cult wouldn't get me, right? Like, I'm not that interested in, like, I don't know, green juices or whatever. Like, that's not gonna get me. But as soon as they were like, this cult is all about birds, I was like, we found the one that would get me.
And I believe that the poem that they recite is by a lady named Rachel Carson, who was a real lady who wrote poetry and was some sort of biologist. I couldn't find out a lot of information. Like, there's an article from like the New York Times that I couldn't read because it was behind a paywall. So I couldn't find out much about her, but she had written books. So I assume that's the Rachel Carson that they are referring to, who was a real like possibly animal activist lady. So maybe that was pulled from that for that specific purpose. But yeah, so lots of weird culty like things happening during that meeting. Devin actually tells her sister Simone straight up, like, you're in a cult. This is a cult.
Yeah,
So
this
I
is a cult,
appreciate
yeah.
it.
I thought it was funny because it does, like, if you chant anything with a group of people, it
With a
doesn't.
scepter.
It's a scepter. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be like a beautiful poem about nature. It's gonna sound bad. It's gonna be creepy. There's gonna be cult vibes to it, no matter what.
Everybody got dressed up and went to a big expensive mansion out in the middle of nowhere on an island. That seems like cultish behavior.
There's some cult in there. There's a sprinkle, a dash, if you will, of cult.
Yeah, so there is some cult vibe. There are some cult vibes here. Okay, so I guess the first thing that we should talk about, I think you mentioned it briefly, about one of the aspects of a pilot pod is the question, does this set up the world well? Do you feel like this set up the characters, set up the environment, the plot setup? How do you feel like this series Sirens set things up in this first episode?
Yeah, I felt like it set it up well. I got a pretty good impression of the main characters, at least the two main sisters. So Milly Alcock plays Simone, and Megan Fahey plays Devin. And you can really feel like the difference between those two characters, that Simone is kind of trying to hide her past, and she's really into things that are very surface. She's very type A. She's very like uptight and really put together, whereas Devin is a little bit less put together. She is sort of held together with duct tape at this point, and sort of falling apart at the seams. She is not doing well, and I think that the difference between these two characters makes for really fun interactions when they're like talking to each other, and Simone's like, you got to get out of here, and Devin's like, why would I leave your cult?
Actually, her being in a cult is why Devin chooses to stay. She's worried about her, I think, little sister. I think Simone is the younger sister. So Devin has been a caretaker to her little sister Simone ever since their mom died, and their dad is dealing with some early onset dementia. And so that is the reason why Devin goes to find her sister, who has been working on this island in this place called the Cliff House, where Julianne Moore's character, Michaela Kells, otherwise known as Kiki, to only a select few.
It's a big honor
to call her Kiki. So that is the premise of the show, is that Devin, this kind of not put together sister, who is recently sober, and is trying to do better, but is seeming to struggle with some things. She is now going to find her sister to try to bring her sister back so that they together can help take care of their dad. So that I thought was a good premise. I could see why this situation would happen, why these two characters would be apart, and then trying to get them back together. I think the premise of the show, I think, is a good one. And I think the end of the pilot leaves Devin in a place where she feels like she cannot leave her sister there. So do we want to talk about that cliffhanger as to what propels Devin to stay? What did you think about, I guess maybe I should set it up. So for people who haven't watched it, you should go on Netflix and watch it yourself. But if you haven't, Michaela, Julianne Moore's character at the beginning of the episode, this is another reason why I think the episode was a good pilot, a good first episode, is that it's sort of bookended really well, because at the beginning, the Michaela character goes on top of this cliff in this beautiful, I don't know if it was a nightgown or whatever she was wearing, carrying a bird and some sort of Afghan.
It looked like some of the stuff that Kara's family was wearing when she went to visit
like the
them.
comfy snuggies.
The comfy snuggies. I was like, oh yeah, I'm right at home. Again, this cult's gonna get me.
satin nightgowns.
No
Carrying
hard
some
pants
birds.
here, baby.
no hard pants.
No hard pants, and we're talking about birds.
That is how you get Morgan into a cult. But Michaela is in her beautiful nightgown in either the wee hours of the morning or like in the early morning, something like that. And she goes up with a bird cage to let Barnaby, this beautiful bird, wants to set him free and let him fly. Because she is an animal activist and she has a bird sanctuary on the premises. And so Barnaby flies out into the wild open. And at the end of the episode, Barnaby, for whatever reason, comes back to Michaela's house, smashes into Michaela's bedroom window, and Barnaby is dead. Barnaby is bleeding and dying in Michaela's arms, holding a dead bloody bird at the end of the episode. And that is what Devin sees through a powerful telescope.
and then just from I think Devin is on like a boat outside, and she's like looking through the binoculars, and she just sees Julianne Moore's character with like blood all over her,
holding a dead bird.
And Devin's like, I guess I should stay.
I feel like that's good motivation for her character. That it was weird. I was waiting the whole episode because it felt so strange, like the uncomfortable discomfort, I guess, the uneasiness that I felt during this entire episode. I kept waiting. There's got to be something weird that happens at the end of this episode because there's something not right about the Michaela character. Because I will say this series is beautifully shot. Just incredibly beautifully shot. The cinematography is very good. But there were some scenes that were very awkward for me to watch. And I think it's intentionally awkward where like there's these close-ups of Michaela and Simone talking to each other in this like dreamlike state. And so there's an uneasiness I feel about the Michaela character and what she's doing to Simone. So when it got to the bird crashing through the window at the end with the bloody, the bloody bird in her arms, I was like, okay, I guess this is a decent payoff for the uneasiness I feel.
There's that one scene where they're going into, it was right before the party where everybody chants, and Michaela turns to Simone and she's like, how's my breath? And then just like breathes into her face, and Simone is like, it's great, how's mine? And then does the same thing, and she's like, it could use a little work. And she's
like a 6 out of 10.
6 out of 10. She takes the gum out of her mouth and gives it to Simone, who then puts it in her mouth. And you're like, no, I'm sorry. You guys are too close. That's not right. I don't like that at all.
It's a little strange.
Yeah.
I'm trying not to judge people, but it is weird. And I think it's intentionally supposed to be a little uneasy.
You're supposed to like see that scene and be like, things are not right here.
Something is off.
She also helps her boss sext her husband, and you're like, some boundaries are being crossed, some lines are being blurred.
It is not something I think I would help my boss do. I don't know. I would draw a line.
I feel like you should be able to do that on your own.
Yeah. I did have a question for you, Morgan, since we're talking about the uneasiness and the dead Barnaby situation. Did you feel like Barnaby was supposed, because I left that scene wondering if Barnaby was supposed to symbolize something, a bird crashing, because when I've seen movies or TV shows where like glass is broken, like a mirror is broken, or like there's a crack in a picture frame glass, it's usually like a representation of like someone has internally cracked or like there's a broken relationship or something like that. And so I got to wondering, like, is Barnaby supposed to, is the dead bird supposed to be Devin? Is she going to kill Devin? Is it representing, Simone, that she has taken this, damaged
this wounded
bird in. She's trying to rehabilitate, but like she ends up murdering her. Like, I don't know what it's supposed to represent.
So I was looking at that Barnaby scene at the end as more like a crack in the facade of her like perfectness. Like
yes.
she's giving this this sort of outward appearance to the world, like she's got it all together. Like, oh, I love Simone. She's so sweet to me. She helps me with everything. I treat her like, like kind of almost like a daughter. And you, from the outside for us, it's the whole thing is creepy. But I think for the people in that environment, they all look up to Michaela. They all see her a certain way, and I think that was supposed to be sort of the crack. Like you're like, okay, it's not nothing's picture perfect in this life. There is more beneath the surface. Not everything is is as it seems, but I didn't think of what you said, which is I do feel like Barnaby is Simone, because Simone was a kind of like a wounded character.
Devin calls her a traumatized little girl who's trying to outrun her past.
Yeah, she we'll talk about some of the relationships later, but she has like this boyfriend who had no idea that she had been in foster care. She doesn't really talk about her family. Nobody knew she had a sister. Nobody knew anything about her father. So you get the impression that she has a past that she doesn't really want to deal with. She's kind of a wounded person. And Michaela took her, maybe saw that about her and took her under her wing and was rehabilitating her like she rehabilitates the birds.
Took her under her wing.
Under her wing.
Like a bird.
Exactly. And so I think maybe you're supposed to see in this episode like that the outward appearance that Michaela is trying to put on is like, I am helping these people. I'm like helping people like I help the birds. And then, when they get self-sufficient, I send them off. But we see at the end that like there's a darker aspect to it. Maybe the bird can't survive without Michaela, just like she wants Simone to not be able to survive without her. Maybe it's become, as we've seen in the episode, a very codependent relationship. And she's not just trying to rehabilitate Simone or give her more opportunities. She's trying to like keep her trapped there.
Yeah, and Michaela said that she that she felt like it was Barnaby's time to go, that Barnaby told her it was time for him to go. And so apparently she sent him too early. That was the thing. And I did also wonder if it connected to, there's another kind of like scene where I was like, oh, I feel uncomfortable watching this, where Michaela or Kiki takes Devin up to the top of the cliff to overlook the water. And she tells her, this makes me think of the ships that would crash in here and the sailors who would die and all this kind of stuff. She talks about the blood of the sailors and the ships and the mourning whales. And I was like, was Barnaby kind of like that sailor who came and crashed, into the cliff, and there was blood all over everywhere. And so I thought that was a really, maybe I'm reading into all of that, but I did find that, especially in the second watch, that I thought this was a really well written episode. And so just the sort of the connections I was able to sort of make on my own about that kind of thing, I really enjoyed that. So yeah, I didn't want to leave without wondering about the Barnaby situation, because that was a notable cliffhanger that really seemed to turn Devin back around. And so I thought that was a pretty important part of the episode.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that you mentioned that, because I think until we started talking about it, I had just kind of watched it. I was like, oh my God, it's so crazy. Oh, the poor bird. And saw it as like, a sign that everything in this universe that she's created isn't as it looks on the surface. Like there is darkness under the surface. But I really like the read that like, yes, what is she doing there? Like, what's her big thing? It is rehabilitating these birds and like then letting them back out. And like, what does she seem like she's doing with Simone is also kind of the same thing, like finding broken people and rehabilitating them. So I think that that's such an interesting read on this first episode. And I'm wondering if that would be if that ends up being something that pulls through the whole series.
Yeah, I'll be looking out for that as well. So Morgan, were there any other characters that you were really drawn to in this episode? We've talked about kind of the main characters. We've talked about Michaela, Simone, who's played by Milly Alcock, and Devin, her wayward sister. Is there anything else you wanted to say about them or any of the other characters that were introduced to in this episode?
Yeah, I really like I was gonna actually watch this show anyway because I saw a preview for it and I was like, first off, Supergirl's in this, amazing. Second off, Julianne Moore, love her. And
Yeah.
also Megan Fahey, who plays Devin, I love because I watched her on a show called The Bold Type, where they all worked at a magazine, girl bossing.
Oh, nice.
It was amazing. It was like an ABC family show. And then she was amazing in the second season of White Lotus. So now I'm like, whatever she's in, I'm gonna check out at least. So I was so excited to see this cast is a very good cast. But I also thought her character was very funny. Like when she shows up, and it seems like she was arrested. And then she gets out of jail, she goes home and she sees a giant edible arrangement that was sent to her house where she lives taking care of her father. And her dad's like, "Oh, it's so nice that Simone sent an edible arrangement." And she's like, "That's it. That's the last straw. Is this giant edible arrangement." I thought that was such a good thing. And the fact that she then takes the edible arrangement with her to go see Simone, and we watch her travel with it, this giant edible arrangement, like on the bus, trying to get it onto the bus and like walking around with the giant edible arrangement just so that she could like throw it at her sister. I felt like that was very funny and told me a lot about those sisters.
Yeah, and they destroy it. Like she throws it on the ground and it is not consumable. It made me think of there's a great movie. If you've never watched it, you should totally watch it. It's called Noise is Off. It's a movie that stars, like, oh my gosh, the cast is stacked. Carol Burnett, Christopher Reeve, Mary Lou Henner, Michael Caine, John Ritter. An amazing cast, and it's about these actors who are trying to rehearse this play that they're doing. It's hilarious. Everyone should watch Noises Off.
I have never heard of this before. What a cast, too.
It is so good. I like to quote Michael Caine in that movie so much in my head because he's the director of the play and he's having to put up with all these like crazy lunatic actors. And John Ritter is just incredible in that one. But the reason I bring it up is because there's a scene that Christopher Reeve is in where he is struggling. His character picks up the whole play is about moving these sardines on and off the set. And so at one point, Christopher Reeve has to pick up these boxes that he's been carrying, and then he leaves with them to go to another place. And so he's struggling as an actor to understand, why would my character pick up this box and move it? And so Michael Caine has to like sort of baby him into like why he would be motivated to pick up the box. So he's like, Freddie, you feel insecure, and so you pick up the box to feel comfort to go to the next thing. And so I wondered, like, why does she do that? Why does she take that ginormous edible arrangement and take it all that way? And I don't know if it was like her picking up her sister sort of metaphorically and like going with her to, I don't know, or maybe it was like her anger. She had bottled up all this anger and she was going to just, maybe it was just a literal thing where she just wanted to throw it at her sister and show her disgust. But it just made me think of that scene where he's like, you feel uncomfortable and you feel like you insecure, so you need the boxes. And so I just wondered if that, because obviously that was something that she could have left that behind. It would have been easier for her not take it. So I did think that was a notable part of her character, that she would take that whole thing. She did eat some of it on the way.
I was about to say that those are some of my favorite scenes, is when you see that she's opened it up and she's started to eat a little bit of it because she's gotten like bored on the bus. I do think it tells us something about her character, that she is both so angry at her sister and also a little petty. Like, I think to bring the giant edible arrangement with you just so that you can throw it at your sister to make a point. Like, there is obviously some anger issues there between these two sisters, and it's obvious that that Devin at least is a little bit crazy in a different way than Simone is, but somebody who is willing to be, willing to do something a little wild because she's mad. Which I thought like established her very quickly.
Well, and I guess we should be fair to Devin to explain why she's so mad at her sisters. That the title of the series is called Sirens, And what we find out, I think Sirens has a multi-layered aspect to it, but one of the main reasons why it's called Sirens is that Sirens is like an emergency code, like an SOS signal that the sisters can send to each other, and they will know something is wrong. And Devin, has been texting her sister Simone sirens like over and over and over and over again, and Simone has not responded to this like emergency code that they have agreed to. And so I think that's why she's partially gotten so mad, is that nobody has responded to her plea for help. So I guess, to be fair to Devin, she's not crazy for crazy's sake. Like, there's a reason why she has been driven to this point.
And I do think the backstory with their family is more alluded to in this pilot than like outwardly explained. But it does seem like she and her sister have different feelings about the father. So Devin has spent all this time with the dad, is taking care of him as he's got this early onset dementia, is obviously, maybe not in the best financial situation, is really trying her best to take care of her father. Meanwhile, Simone has completely removed herself from the family. She's living with this like millionaire. She's this uptight kind of party planner girl. She doesn't tell anybody about her past. And we later find out that she was in foster care, but it doesn't seem like Devin was in foster care. So that does make you wonder, like, why was only Simone in foster care if that's the case? And what was her relationship like with her father? Because I do think at some point in the pilot, she says something about like how she kind of doesn't care what's going on with the father, and like that's not her business. So it does seem like that there is like some breakdown in that relationship that maybe Devin feels differently about. So I think that you really get, even though you don't get the full story in the pilot, you can get the idea that they both feel very differently about their past, where they came from, and also about their family. Like Simone is trying to desperately kind of get away from it and pretend it doesn't exist. Whereas Devin is like really in it and wants Simone to come and help her, and feels very abandoned by Simone because Simone is just like, here, have an edible arrangement. This is all I'm going to give you, basically.
And then later on in the episode, Simone and Kiki do give her a $10,000 check, which is it would be nice, but if you're doing medical situations, that probably isn't going to last.
I thought that as well. I was like, listen, any amount of money is nice, but like, especially if you have somebody who needs like a care, like a live-in, yeah. How far is that going to go? How many months is that going to cover, really? Like, so I think it was kind of insult to injury, where she gets this check, which is more money, obviously, than she has, but is probably not enough to really fix the situation full time.
Yeah, and I think for Devin, it's more of an emotional need anyway. She wants someone to be there to physically help because she's trying to do it on her own, which I can totally understand. So that would be something that you would want someone to help you and be kind of a partner to, with you in that situation. And her sister should maybe want to help with the family. So it is, but I guess, to be fair to Simone, she's now in this great new place. She has a boyfriend who's a little too old for her, but okay. But she has a boyfriend. She's got this nice place she's living in. She probably gets paid pretty well. The staff talks crap about her, but she's doing pretty well. And she says this is like the happiest that she's been. She's having a great time. She gets to live near the beach. They go for runs. So I can imagine that for Simone, this is a great thing for her. Why would she go back? So I like being able to see both sides of the situation and see the two sides of both of the characters, because I can see why they would choose to be and act the way they do, depending on their circumstances.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's one of the things that it made the pilot really compelling, is that you can kind of see both sides, even though obviously whatever's going on with Simone's job is crazy, but
she needs to get out of there.
She needs to get out of there. But I think you can see the contrast from where she grew up and where she came from, where they don't have a lot of money, where things were very hard. We don't really know what her relationship with her father is like. And then we see where she's living in this kind of almost fantasy world where, they live on the beach. basically, and they're in this mansion, and everybody is dressed in beautiful flowing pastels and talking about birds, and like, yeah, why would you want to go home and get like, and be right back into reality? So yeah, I think even if you're like, oh, Simone, you in danger, girl. You can see what the appeal of this sort of this life would have been for her, for somebody who grew up kind of in a tough environment, and then just be in this crazy mansion with these these beautiful people and their pastels and their birds, and be like, no, I feel like this is where I belong.
Before we move on from Devin and Simone, I wanted to have us answer Stanley's question, which is, did Milly give a good performance? So how, Morgan, did you think she did playing Simone DeWitt?
Yeah, I thought she did. I thought she gave a really good performance. I thought the same thing in the few episodes I managed to get through of House of the Dragon. I think that Milly's a good actress, and obviously this character is way different than her House of the Dragon character. She's like very uptight. She is the person who is not in the group chat of all the people who work at the house, and they all kind of hate her and talk about her like literally in front of her, not even behind her back, like literally in front of her.
Yep.
And you get from that from her immediately, like this sort of prissy, like uptight personality, where it's like, that's the wrong color flowers, let's not ruin this for everyone. But then you see that like Devin says, this like wounded little girl beneath that she has like a lot of trauma from her upbringing, and I think Milly did a really good job of like marrying those sort of two sides of that character's personality.
Yeah, I thought she did a great job. I was really impressed with her performance in this episode, and I even though I had my issues with House of the Dragon, I never had to question her acting ability. And I've seen little bits and pieces of her in some other things that she's been in. So I think she's a fantastic actress, actually, and I think she and the actress who plays Devin, I thought, really played off each other really well. And I'm just so glad she has this opportunity to show off a little bit in this series. And she's from Sydney, Australia, and so I was while I was watching it, I was like, wow, is she having to do this accent like all the time? So she has some kind of American accent. I don't know if it's a Buffalo, New York accent. I'm not as familiar with that area, the upstate New York that she talks about. But she did have an American accent of some kind, I guess a generic American accent. And I was really impressed by that because, sometimes, I'm not going to name names on the Supergirl TV series, but sometimes there would be an actress who had a very a wonderful accent,
beautiful accent,
a wonderful accent, maybe an Irish accent that would sometimes come in and out in the American accent.
And Lena, are you Irish?
So to have an actress be able to maintain that it is difficult. I wouldn't be able to do it.
Oh,
so
no.
I'm not playing around.
I can't do accents
too much.
Yeah.
But
it is funny. I've definitely watched shows where actors are trying to do like an American accent, but they have some other accent, and it like would slip out. I remember there was a show where I feel like one of the actors, to try to prevent that, would kind of whisper all his lines like he was Batman. So I thought her American accent was good. In fact, it was good enough that I forgot that she is. Is she? You said she's Australian?
I believe so. Yes.
Okay, yeah, I knew that she did like the sort of the fantasy British accent on House of the Dragon, but I couldn't remember where she was actually from. Yeah, Australian. So yeah, I feel like you didn't really get that accent really coming out at all. I think she did a really good job with the American accent.
Now, by episode 5, it could totally fall apart.
Suddenly, she could be Australian by episode 5. We don't know.
We haven't gotten there yet. But the first episode, pretty consistent throughout. So I thought she did a great job in playing the sort of uppity, like you said, very strict, very by the book Simone, who is living at the beach, and then also playing against her sister, who has surprised her and has come in. And so I thought she handled all of those different emotions very well. And so I was very impressed with actually all of their performances. I thought everybody was really believable, and a lot of the performances were just so good that I was really just into the episode. And so I thought Millie did a great job in this one. So I'm excited to see kind of where she takes Simone in the following episodes in season 1. And I guess while we're talking about performances, one of the things that I really want to see continue is the group of people who work at this place called the Cliff House. I really loved the cast of characters who have appeared as, cooks or chefs, and people who work inside the house, people who are working in the garden or whatever. We get to meet a few of those. I think Patrice is the chef. And then there is Jose, who is kind of Jose is like the I guess he
I think he's
kind
like
of
the house manager.
he like maintains maybe some of the outside, but he's also like a limo driver. He's also, he has
He does a lot of
various
things.
roles. But I really enjoyed getting to see, I guess it's I know I don't watch Downton Abbey, but I've heard that it's like
It's great.
how is it separated, like
Upstairs, downstairs.
upstairs, downstairs. So that's kind of the vibe that I got from the separation of like the rich people who come to see Michaela and raise money for their bird cult. And then there's like the downstairs people who work for Michaela and who can't eat certain things, like they can't have carbs before their big gala on Monday, and they have had to sign a non-disclosure agreement. And so there are certain things about them that they cannot do based on their employment. Yes, they can't smoke in certain areas, so they have to go to a separate kind of area that they don't tell people about. So I want to see that cast of characters kind of grow and become more of a presence. Jose, I think, is like one of the main ones, but I would love to see more from their point of view as well.
Yeah, I really liked those characters as well. I like the sort of the slice of how weird this place really is that it shows you, because they talk about, like, when they talk about where they could smoke, they're like, oh, we can smoke over here because there's no cameras here. And Devin is like, what do you mean there's no cameras here? Like, are there cameras everywhere? And they're like, yes, of course there are. Like, that's such a weird thing that, like, you would have cameras all over your house and your grounds, but like the people who work there are just so used to it. They're like, yeah, no, we can't eat bread, we can't smoke except for on this one small unmonitored section of the property. And Devin is starting to get the impression that this is like a very weird place that her sister has chosen to work.
And one of the ladies, I don't know exactly what her role is, but she like opens the door. She seems like a maid of some kind. I'm not exactly sure what her position is, but she tells Devin, be careful here.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, that is a warning of some
Spooky.
kind. What do they know about this place? So I hope they can say something. They've signed NDAs, but come on, tell me something. They know things. So I just thought they were really interesting. So I hope to get to see more of them as we go along. Let's see, and I guess while we're here, what did you think about so Devin is sort of kicked off the premises because she's caused some trouble during the bird cult ceremony. And so Michaela has her set up in an inn close by to have her fly out and never to be seen again. And Jose drives her to the hotel. And so what did you think about Devin and Jose's relationship?
That was one of my favorite scenes in terms of just being like, oh no, don't do it. Like, just watching through my fingers. Devin seems to have a problem with not like hooking up with random people. I think it's just something that she like does when she's bored. And so she's talking to Jose. He's like, just take the money basically and run, like, get out of here. They get out of the car and they like hug, and then she licks his neck, and he's like, lady, what are you doing?
It was so weird.
I am married. I have kids. What's wrong with you? Why would you lick me? And I thought it was very funny how he was like, did you just lick me? Like he's such a normal person. And she's like, yeah, man, I don't know why I did that. I thought it was such a funny scene, and gives you so much about both of those characters, that she is like, when she gets uncomfortable, just kind of defaults to trying to like hook up with whoever is sort of in the area, and that he is just kind of like a normal guy who's like, whoa, lady, I don't think I even know you. I don't want you licking me.
It was awkward, and it kind of ruined, because for most of the episode, while she's here at the Cliff House, he seems to be the one who bonds with her, because they bond over their shared hatred of the Kansas City Chiefs. And so he sort of looks after her a little bit. And so when she did that, I was like, what are you doing?
I know. It's like, you guys are pals. What are you doing?
Did you get the impression, because maybe this is me reading into it, but she's in prison at the beginning of the episode, and she does hook up with, she says that the second guy, I think his name is Jordan, something like that. She says that he's the second guy that she has had relationships with on a boat that day.
Oh yeah, because she hooks up randomly with a guy. Is he like one of the guys on the boat who tells her not to stop smoking?
And so I thought maybe I'm reaching or misunderstanding, but I got the impression that she was a lady of the night.
Ooh, I don't know. Yeah, I think you could read that she was maybe like a sex worker, and that's why she was in jail. It could also just be that she, has kind of like swapped one addiction for another, because she talks about being sober. So instead of drinking or, doing something else with substances, it feels like maybe she has just swapped like hypersexuality, like being very sexual with people, into that sort of addictive portion of her life. So instead of drinking, now she's just kind of hooking up with like the first person she sees, like the first person who is within reach. She's like, hey, what's up? It does kind of feel like it's almost something out of control for her, in terms of like, why would she lick his neck? It's so crazy.
It is weird.
And even like when he goes like, did you lick me? You can see she's like kind of embarrassed. She's like, like she's like completely, she's like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know why I did that. So to me, it kind of felt like she's out of control, and this is just something that she's doing because like now she's not drinking.
I think that's a fair and valid take, because she also mentions in that same scene that she's been texting a therapist, because a text therapist is the only one she can afford. So maybe she's trying to work out those addiction type situations through that therapy that she's been doing. So I think that's a fair read that it sort of helps me through that, because the whole time I was like, I don't know, like what because she does say she has
doing? Devin, what are you doing?
she does have a job. She works at some place called the Falafel Balls, I think is what she calls them, which is a crazy name. But she does have a job that she's supposed to be going to, but she doesn't show up because she goes to the Cliff House to rescue her sister.
And it did seem like the job at the falafel place was maybe the guy that she talks to there is maybe either her coworker or her boss, but it does seem like there was a relationship between the two of them as well.
Yes.
Where like maybe they dated at some point or they've hooked up at some point, because she's like, oh, go, you have to go see my dad. And he's like, come on.
She blackmails him by saying, if you don't do this, if you fire me, I'm going to call your wife and tell her about what we've been doing.
Yeah.
And I think he is a guy she's known since high school. Because when he goes over there to take care of her dad says something about, she mentions like, oh, this is Raymond from high school, and he's like, he's not from high school, he's an old guy now. So I think they've had a previous relationship, and maybe like an ongoing one, I don't know. So yeah, she definitely has an addiction to that for sure. Is there anything else that you wanted to mention, Morgan, that we didn't already talk about?
I'm trying to think if there's anything that I feel like we hadn't covered in this episode, but I feel like we got most of it. I guess we didn't talk about Simone's boyfriend.
Oh yes,
Her
Ethan.
older boyfriend Ethan, who's played by what's his name from Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Glenn Howerton. From Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And yeah, he's his like her much older boyfriend. When he meets Devin, he's like never heard about her before. He didn't know that that Simone had been in foster care. And I did like there's like a scene, the scene where it's the birds and the chanting. He's wearing like a little pastel suit jacket with like ducks on it or something. And
Perfect for the bird cult.
Perfect for the bird cult, but I just thought it was a very funny choice of outfit that Devin like immediately makes fun of.
Well, when you're rich, I guess you can wear whatever you want to. And we should, I guess, mention for people if they want to connect the dots. Ethan also owns a yacht where Devin hooks up with the captain of the yacht. And that's how she ends up looking through the telescope to see Michaela with dead Barnaby in her arms. So there are connections. There are connections that are happening there. Yeah, I thought it was there is an age difference between Simone and Ethan, and it's mentioned by Devin, and I definitely noticed it when the first scene with the two of them, when the two of them were first together. But it does seem like maybe initially Simone thought it was just a summer fling, but now it seems like they do actually love each other. So there is a connection maybe that Simone has not just to Michaela, but also to Ethan. So I do wonder as the story goes forward, does the hold that Michaela has on Simone, does it get weaker because she is now also attached to Ethan? Is there a choice that she will have to make between either Ethan and her sister versus Michaela? Will that become a problem for Kiki moving forward? I don't know because it sounds like Simone has not told Kiki about her relationship with
true.
Ethan.
Yeah.
So there is a secret between the two of them. So I do wonder if Ethan, and that makes me worried about Ethan.
Poor Ethan in his duck jacket.
Could he be the dead Barnaby? I don't know. so he should maybe be on the lookout because I don't know. When you start a story where two people are happy and in love and everything's going great, I don't know that that's always going to continue.
Especially in a story where there's like dark undertones like this one where it's like everything's not as it seems. You're like, uh-oh, Ethan, maybe you in danger, girl. I don't know.
Especially on a show titled Sirens. And I don't know a lot about like the mythological sirens, but I do know that in my memory of sirens, that in mythology they are like so I just looked it up. And just looking off the book of knowledge. In Greek mythology, sirens are female human-like beings with alluring voices. They appear in a scene in the Odyssey in which Odysseus saves his crew's lives. And so they have like a siren call that can be seen as both very attractive and dangerous. And so I do think that if I look at the title and then look at these three women that we're introduced to, I think Julianne Moore's character, Michaela, she's definitely a siren who could be, she looks very on the outside. She looks very alluring. She's very beautiful. She's altruistic. She wants to help other people and fundraise and do right by these birds she has on her bird sanctuary. But I think she could be very dangerous if you went a little further. And I think the two DeWitt sisters, both Simone and Devin, they can be very alluring. They're both very attractive. They both have, some intimate moments with gentleman callers. And I'm trying to keep it very PG. And so I think in their own way, they could also be sirens. And I don't know if they would ever let their claws out to be more than just sort of the attractive self on the outside. But I think it's really interesting that the three women that we're introduced to, I think, could be sirens. And what I thought was really such a nice touch in the music. The score in this episode, a lot of it was like a female vocalist who was like singing like just
Oh,
like
yeah.
notes, like not even words. It was just notes as if it was a siren song, like a siren call. And so I was like, oh, okay, that's a nice touch. I hope that that continues as the episodes continue, because that I thought was a really clever way to have music underscoring it, because it made it unsettling, but it also played into the siren aspect of the show. So I really liked that a lot.
I like that a lot, even with the location where they're, a kind of this beautiful mansion on like the beach by cliffs, by the rocks, like we see where she lets Barnaby out. And Rachel in the chat said, the idea is that, talking about sirens, the idea is that they can sing in a way that's so hypnotic that they get sailors to crash near their island because they're distracting the sailors that much. But I think the idea that, of the island, of the rocks, of the shore, it really does play into the setting where they are right by a beach, where they are sort of there's a cliff.
They live at the cliff house.
Exactly. Michaela even talks about the sailors, who didn't make it on the the rocks below, right? So there is even the setting is very Sirens-esque in terms of like, if you were to say like where would a show named Sirens be set, I would be like, yeah, on a cliffside.
No, near the beach. And also the Alexa technology that they have at the cliff house is called Zeus. So
Oh, that's right.
instead of saying Alexa, they say Zeus, open the door or whatever. So they have a Greek mythology aspect to inside the house, referencing Zeus. So I thought that was also probably a more overt reference to sirens of Greek mythology, but I thought it also played into things, because I don't know if they could even use Alexa, because it's probably like a licensed thing they probably can't do.
Probably.
So it makes sense to have a fictionalized version of that as well. So I thought that the siren aspect of this episode and this show was quite fitting for what I think they were trying to do.
So I see Stanley in the chat says, are there any hints of a secret dark plot in Sirens? And I would say probably. We haven't seen Michaela's husband yet.
Oh yes,
but-
he's absent and mysterious, and he's very rich though. They say
Very
that
rich.
he has a hedge fund that's worth billions. He, I think, is a security guy. Kell Securities, I think, is what it's called. So
Ah.
he's a very rich man who is absent from the pilot.
Yeah, I feel like there's probably going to be something with him. I feel like Michaela's relationship with her husband is maybe not going as great as she would love everybody to believe. Not only because she felt like she needed to workshop a sext to her own husband with her.
She couldn't do
employee.
that siren song on her own.
She could not. She was like, okay, how should I take this sexy picture? It's like, lady, I think you can do that yourself. But then he doesn't answer. They make a big deal of this.
He reads it but does not respond.
He leaves her sexy picture on red, which is devastating.
Yes.
So I think we're supposed to get some hints there that maybe the marriage is not going so great. So I do think that the dark plot for sure. It does feel like there's a cult aspect of it with all these people in this secret society chanting things, and that there is more to Michaela and her whole universe and her whole world, including her husband, who seems like he's maybe checked out of this whole thing, than meets the eye.
Yeah, there's one shot, I think it's towards the end of the episode. Michaela walks out of her bedroom and down the stairs, and you see these ginormous portraits of Michaela and who I am assuming is her husband,
I was
who
about to
looks an
say-
awful lot like Kevin Bacon.
It's interesting because it is Kevin Bacon. I was on the Wikipedia, and it says Kevin Bacon is her billionaire husband. Who is it says he comes from old money, and he's the CEO of Kell Securities. So yes, that was indeed good eye. That was Kevin Bacon.
So on outward appearances, they seem to, I mean, they have these huge portraits of the two of them, so that they feel important, they feel connected, that they're the two members of this household are so important. But on the inside, if you actually understood the actual reality of their relationship, it's probably not going so well. So yeah, I think there's a lot that hints towards a secret dark plot. I mean, the dead bird at the
The
end,
Barnaby alone.
that's enough to make me go, what's going on with this show? What's
Barnaby,
happening?
no.
But yeah, I think Julianne Moore is playing Michaela so well, because there's parts of me that thinks maybe she really does care about Simone. Maybe there's parts of her that she really genuinely has developed a closeness with her assistant, because her assistant helps her so much, and maybe she really does want to help these birds. Maybe she really feels like the birds are going to benefit from the fundraising and the activism that she's doing. But she is a weird lady. Like, there's something not right about her.
A little off.
So yeah, if there's not a more secret dark plot, I'm going to be disappointed, because now that you have the older sister coming to watch over the younger sister and potentially protect her from this lady who has some strangeness to her, if there's not a danger to it, I would be very surprised. It feels like there is a danger that the bigger sister Devin needs to protect her younger sister from. So I think there has to almost be a more of a, and also, like, all of the workers at this place, at the Cliff House, they've all signed NDAs.
Yes.
Why wouldn't you want them to talk about what's happened at the house? They must have seen something. The fact that there is that warning from one of them that says, "You be careful here." So there is a lot. There are a lot of hints of danger.
Yeah, it seems like there's more than what's happening on the surface, for sure, in this house.
Yes. Okay, so I think we've mostly talked about everything I kind of wanted to talk about. So I guess we sort of agreed that the characters are maybe, or would you agree that the characters are set up well, and that they do you feel like they did a good job of, like, establishing what this show is?
Yeah, I feel like I had an idea of who everybody was, what they wanted, like what some of the challenges were going to be in the show, what some of the interpersonal relationships were going to be. And it did leave me on not a cliffhanger, because RIP Barnaby, but it did leave me at a place where, like, the sort of the ending shot of the episode, you were like, whoa. And it made me want to go to episode 2 as well, and to know what was going to happen moving forward. So I do think that, in terms of being like a good pilot, even though this is like a 5-episode show that was apparently based on a play, which is kind of interesting. I noticed that in the opening credits, and then I saw it on Wikipedia.
What is the if we looked into what the play was about, do you think we would be spoiled?
I don't know. So it says it is a dark comedy limited series created by Molly Smith Meltzler. I'm sure I pronounced that wrong. Based on her 2011 play Elamino P. So I don't say. Yeah. So they're talking the plot of Elamino P, according to Wikipedia, is summer's almost over when blue-collar social worker Devin visits her sister Simone at the wealthy estate where she works in Martha's Vineyard. Should I guess this is pretty vague. Simone is the personal assistant to the wife of a billionaire. The owners are supposed to be away when the trophy wife Michaela unexpectedly returns.
Oh, so that's a different situation.
So that is different. Yeah, and says the story plays out in the luxurious guest house of the estate and includes an eccentric boyfriend and a put upon servant. So it does sound, it's close enough, but it's not exactly
it seems
one-to-one.
loosely based.
Loosely based, yeah.
Yeah, there are some characters who are similar, but the plot maybe seems to have been reworked from the play. So that's really interesting, that it's kind of based off of something else. Very cool. Well, I thought this show set up the world really well. I understood the difference in the locations. You see Devin's hard life. She's crying outside the police station. Her dad's house is a mess. He's listening to war movies very loudly. And you see her wearing dark clothes, and so then she goes to this beautiful beach place where the cliff house is, and everyone's wearing the pastels and the Easter kind of looking clothes, and everyone is sunny and warm and friendly to a weird place. And so the worlds are very different from where Devin's coming from and where Simone is currently. And so I like that separation of showing like where they are in terms of their current lives and what things are like in this sort of fantasy land that Simone is living in, and the real world, the reality of Devin's situation. And I think that the characters were set up pretty well. I understood both of their situations. I knew their names, which is always very important for a first episode, to know who is who and where they are. And so I think the characters are set up really well, and I think the situation that they are put in and the setting where they are, I think, was very well established. So overall, I would say that this was a really good first episode. It's something that I think hints at a bigger world and a bigger mystery and a character growth that can happen with these characters. And so I definitely want to keep watching it. I want to finish episode 2. I only got through about 10 minutes of it, so I haven't really finished it out, but I'm curious to see what is going to happen between these two sisters. And I'm definitely interested in Michaela, because I think there is something more that we don't know with her. So I'm excited to see where Julianne Moore takes that character, because she is also, I haven't really said much about her acting ability, but she's a great actress.
She's such a good actress. Yeah, anything with Julianne Moore, I know I'm going to be in good hands.
Yeah, she is pretty good. Even though I didn't love like season 4 of 30 Rock, where her character and Jack Donaghy were dating, but she put in a good performance. I just didn't love the story that they were telling.
Who did she play in 30? I can't remember what character she was.
What was her character? Nancy. It was season 4. Nancy was pit against Avery, Jack's 2 girlfriends, and she played like that Bostonian Catholic girlfriend who Jack Donaghy maybe knew from high school or something like that.
Oh, that's right. So yeah, didn't she have like a thick
very Bostonian accent there? So she played the part really well. I just didn't love that storyline. Season 4 was kind of hit or miss, but still better than most every other sitcom known to man. So even 30 Rock's worst season is like miles above everybody else. But yeah, so most everything else that I've seen with Julianne Moore is very good. She's a very good actress, and I think she's doing a great job keeping the mystery with Michaela in this first episode. So yeah, I would suggest it for anybody who is looking forward to Milly Alcock as Supergirl, wants to see her acting ability. And I think for me, watching this has made me more excited about Milly Alcock as Supergirl, because I think her range is really good, and I think her presence on screen is also very good. And so I'm excited to see what she brings, even more so now to see what she brings to the Supergirl character, because I do think she has the acting chops for it.
Yeah, I have a feeling this is going to have a lot of twists and turns in it, which I love. And when I'm watching something like this, especially, I feel like any show where it's like this is about a bunch of rich people, like things are going to get weird very quickly. And yeah, I think that when I saw that this show was coming out, the thing that appealed to me the most was the cast. And I think that the cast is a huge drawing point. It's a very strong cast. Everybody is really, really good. Milly and my God, Megan Fahey are amazing. Julianne Moore is incredible. I assume in like the next episode or 2, we're going to get Kevin Bacon. So I think that I would recommend this show, having just watched the pilot. I think it starts out really strong. It leaves me in a place where I want to know what's going to happen next. And selfishly, when I saw it was like 5 episodes, I was like, oh, that's so doable. Because there's a lot of TV happening all the time. So I do love like a short mystery dramedy that I can kind of like power through. So I'm not sure if this is going to be like a one and done season thing or if they're going to do more of this, but I'm excited to see how the story unfolds in the next few episodes.
We'll have to see if the Sirens emergency code gets used in
Ooh.
future episodes, and see if the sisters have to rely on each other to get through any thing coming their way. Because I do wonder if the Sirens title will play even more as we go through it. So I'll continue to watch, and 5 episodes is very doable. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this storyline unfolds. Well, I think that's going to do it for our discussion on Sirens. Should we go before we wrap things up? I did see New Rachel in the chat. This has nothing to do with Sirens, but New Rachel says, I just read volume 5 of the Smallville season 11 comic. And was anyone going to tell me that this series had Director Bones in it?
Wait, what?
I didn't know that. So
I
that's
did
good
not know
to
that either. That is news for me as well.
Yeah. So if you would like to read a Smallville season 11, which now I'm actually, maybe did we know that? I feel like
don't
that's
know.
sort of maybe familiar in my mind now that I'm thinking about it. But I cannot remember if we've like mentioned what he does in Smallville season 11, but that seems vaguely familiar to me now that we're going over it. But now I'm going to have to check it out and make sure that I have seen the Director Bones mention.
It looks like Rachel says it's titled Olympus. It's the volume with Wonder Woman in it.
So if you want to read some Director Bones in Smallville season 11, I think
if like us, you're a Director Bones super fan.
Yeah. So we'll have to check that out. So thanks for mentioning that, Rachel. Well, I think that's going to do it for this episode of Supergirl Radio. If you want to contact us, you can post a comment on our website at supergirlradio.com. You can email us at supergirlradio@gmail.com. You can like us on Facebook and follow us on X and Instagram, all at Supergirl Radio. If you like what we do, we encourage you to give us a rating and write us a review on Apple Podcasts or anywhere that you listen to the podcast. Supergirl Radio is part of the DCTV Podcast and Multiverse of Color networks. You can hang out with us as we go live and wired on Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern on the DCTV Podcast YouTube channel. I will note that we have stopped streaming to Facebook because it's kind of pointless because A, it wasn't working anymore, and B, they're going to be deleting the live stream after a month anyway. So we are
come on over to YouTube.
We're exclusively on the DCTV Podcast YouTube channel now. So if you would like to follow along with us and catch us live, that is where we are gonna be from now on. The DCTV Podcast also has a TeePublic store. So if you're in need of any new DC or DCTV or DC Comics related T-shirts, tank tops, sweatshirts, magnets, tote bags, pins, phone cases, pillows, or stickers, go to Supergirl Radio and click on the TeePublic store link at the top of the page.
And since we came to Sirens for Milly Alcock, we have Just Here for Supergirl designs in the DC TV Podcast TeePublic store that we would love to suggest.
Yeah, it's summertime now. We've got tank tops. If you need a summer look, if you want to enjoy that outside and tell people that you're just here for Supergirl. If you're going to Superman Celebration, it's very hot there in Metropolis. You might need a tank top for that. But if you're going to see the Superman movie, which Supergirl's probably going to be in, and you're just going to be seeing that movie because you're just going to be there for Supergirl.
Because you're just there for Supergirl, obviously.
And maybe you get cold in the theater. There are sweatshirts. There are long sleeve shirts that you can buy as well.
You could go short sleeve, long sleeve, no sleeve.
We have all the designs that you might need to show people that you are just here for Supergirl. So whether or not you're watching Sirens or the new Superman movie, or if you're going to Superman Celebration, let people know that you're just here for Supergirl so that they know exactly why you are there. We would also like to thank our Legion of Super sponsors for supporting the Supergirl Radio Patreon. These people are Michael, Emery, Yvonne, Nicola, Abby, Miriam, Nicole, Brian, Ethan, Majuba, Annie, Rachel, and Kit. And if you would also like to be a Legion of Super super sponsor, you can go to patreon.com/supergirlradio. You can follow me on the interwebs in a couple of places. I'm on the social media platform Vero True Social at Derby Kid. I'm also on Instagram at the Derby Kid. I have a YouTube channel at youtube.com/duckmilkprod. And I also do a travel blog with my brother at Oasis Broom on all the social media platforms. We will be going internationally to England soon. So if you want to see our travels over there, I'm very excited because we have a great uncle Quincy who did a lot of international traveling for his job, and he would we have one of his journals where he would write about his travels and where he went. And so I'm inspired by Uncle Quincy. So I'm also going to be journaling when we go to England. And I've got one of those Kodak Prinomatic cameras. It's kind of like a Polaroid.
Oh, those are fun.
It's fun, but like all the pictures turn out to be pink. And I'm like, why? I don't understand what's happening here. I think it's like a light situation. But I'm going to, the pictures that I can print out also are stickers. So I'm going to write in my journal and take a picture of wherever we were that day and stick it in the journal. And so I've been inspired by his travel journal. So it's actually really funny to read it too, because he goes to France. I don't know if I've mentioned this on the podcast before, but he goes to France and he sees this actress in some play and he calls her, I forget exactly what the term was. It was like a long description of her, but he calls her a hussy in it. And so and we did look this actress up, and she was a real actress. And like you can actually learn history from reading our Uncle Quincy's journal.
Care for her.
So he was a theater critic of his own. So I don't know if I'll be using that kind of language to describe the people that I encounter in England, but it's pretty fun to read his journal because he does mention people and places that either existed or still exist today. So we're actually going to be going to one of the like little pub restaurants that he wrote about in his journal. So I will be doing some travel journaling soon. So we may mention some of that stuff at Oasis Broom if you want to follow along with our travels.
That's really exciting. Well, I can't wait to see all the places that you guys go in England. You can find me on the internet at Mojotastic. And you can also find me on as a co-host on the Legendary Ladies podcast, where we just this week recorded an episode about the new Miley Cyrus album, Something Beautiful. I'm not somebody who has listened to I think this is my first Miley Cyrus album that I've listened to the whole thing. I usually just sort of pop in her singles. I sort of see her out and about. So this was an interesting one for me. I think it was an interesting album. It was kind of a little bit more experimental. Apparently, she's also doing a visual album component to it. It's going to be like in theaters for I don't know, like a week or so. Because apparently Miley Cyrus just doesn't really like to tour. So this is how she's doing it. She's like, I'm not going to tour, but I'll give you a little movie of my music. So I was like, okay, good for you, Miley.
Yeah, I guess that's another way to maybe monetize your stuff and just get it out there. I know Taylor Swift kind of does certain things like that. So I don't know if that's
oh yeah, but I think that when Taylor Swift did it, it was like a concert. It was a movie of her Eras tour.
And she also did a very large tour, so to her credit.
Where I think Miley is just doing like a visual album kind of thing where it's like a lot of like music videos for the different songs. But it should be interesting I don't know if I'll get out to see it in the theaters, but now I feel like I'm committed. Like when it comes out on streaming somewhere, I'll probably watch it.
Just to be a completist.
Let's see what's going on here, Miley.
My favorite Miley Cyrus thing, and people should look it up if they've never listened to it, but there is a remix or like a mashup, I guess you could say, of Miley Cyrus's Party in the USA mixed with Biggie Smalls, who like it's like a mashup of two of their sounds. It is the greatest. I love that version of Party in the USA. It is so awesome. So if you're a fan of rap / Miley Cyrus, whatever you would call her music, pop, I guess, at this point, but definitely try to find it. It's Biggie plus Miley Cyrus's Party in the USA. It's so fun to listen to. It's actually really well done.
That's so
like
funny.
That's like my touch point with Miley Cyrus is
I feel like Party in the USA is also one of my touch points with Miley Cyrus. She's had huge singles. She had the Flowers single a couple years ago.
Wasn't Wrecking Ball?
She came in like a wrecking ball. But the Party in the USA is what I remember because like they would play it at like bars and clubs, and everybody would like freak out, and everybody would like be putting their hands up, and it's such like a poppy song, and suddenly you'd see everybody be like, yeah, Miley.
It's so much better with Biggie on it, though.
I bet it is. I've looked this up already. I'm going to listen to it afterwards. And the first thing one of the first search results was a Reddit thread, and it said one of my favorite mashups.
See, it's amazing. It's so good.
So you're in good company.
Yeah, it's so good. Well, I highly recommend it. Well, that's very cool to hear the legendary ladies covering Miley Cyrus. I'll definitely be checking it out. I definitely listened to the episode. What was that movie that had the sequel that y'all talked about?
Oh, Another Simple Favor.
Yes. So I did listen to that recently.
Yeah, and I had seen the first one, and Amy had only seen the second one. Not something I would recommend. Just kind of going in blind to the sequel.
Yeah. So that was a really awesome discussion and review that you all did. So I appreciated it. Well, I think that's going to do it for this episode of Supergirl Radio. But until next time, I'm still Rebecca Johnson.
And I'm still Morgan Glennon. And Sips and Nibbles are in the back.
McGurk! I love
Not
typing.
mess with my Google Docs, Meeksy.
Supergirl Radio is going live every night of the week. How do you like it? Is becoming a human burrito a plus or a minus? I don't know. It does seem snug.
I mean, they say you are what you eat.
Kira. I love that.
So I do a podcast called Supergirl Radio, and one of our segments is Lena Luthor, Boardroom or Ballroom, because
She looks like a boss in this coat.
Nasty Luthor like a different Luthor? It's not just Lena being mean?
No.
Helen Slater here. So fun to know that you're hosting a podcast called Supergirl Radio.
Yay!